Hello folks, thank you for joining me again today. I'm here again to help with your cake-based and personal problems, from wonky eclairs to split ganaches, from dry meringues to this season's hottest beach fashion trends. Welcome to Dr. Tim Cake Clinic. So that was that. First up, I have a referral from Doug, who's a 68-year-old gentleman from Edgbaston in the West Midlands. Doug writes, "Dear Dr. Tim, my local discotheque is having a breakdancing competition and I'm well up for it. I'm getting on a bit, so my power moves are a little limited. Since recent shoulder surgery, my sweep drop, corkscrew and head spin aren't quite what they were. They're not on point. To curry favour with the judges, I thought I'd end my routine, such as it is, by presenting them with a fruit tart. However, my tart game needs improving, something that matches the premium nature of my two-handed elbow hop. Making tart cases is a right old faff, lining with baking beans to blind bake, etc. My tarts also shrink when they bake and often are uneven. They're more dad dance shuffle than b-boy legend. Dr. Tim, can you help a body-popping grandpa out? Peace, Doug. Let's make things better. Right, pastry cases. This is a lovely bit of technique. At first look, it might look a bit kind of chefy, a bit pastry chefy, but it's actually dead simple and a much easier way to make tart cases at home. And it's using these, which are perforated tart rings baked on a perforated mat. And I'll come back to them, but these are going to change your baking forever. So first up, we're going to make a really nice sweet shortcrust pastry. It's very straightforward, but it's got the addition of a couple of ingredients which help kind of get the architecture of the tart case just kind of really neat and tidy and delicious. First of all, we've got some butter. And then some icing sugar. And we're just going to cream those two things together. And then we're going to add some ground almonds, just a little bit, and some corn flour. The corn flour sort of is really about adding a bit more kind of structure and architecture to the pastry, so it kind of holds itself when it bakes and doesn't shrink too much. Also adds to kind of texture of it, kind of makes it slightly more brittle and tasty. The almonds has a kind of structural effect, but it also kind of really adds to the taste and makes them kind of more moist. So we're just going to cream those two things together. And then we've got some whole eggs. We're just going to dribble those in slowly to keep it nice and emulsified. We'll beat that in. So that's the egg all nicely incorporated. And then we're going to put some plain flour in. I'm just going to mix this until it comes together into a smooth paste. Right, that's what comes together nicely. It's quite a soft pastry, this. At this point, the butter's was nice and warm when we started, so it's not going to be at the point of rolling out for a while yet. So I'll show you how we work this. So this is a really nice way of making and rolling out pastry. So instead of what you'd normally do at this point, which is have quite a dry, sort of hard, cold pastry mix, this is quite soft. So we're going to put it between two sheets of, this is silicone paper, but you could use greaseproof or baking parchment or any kind of supermarket baking friendly paper. So I'm just going to shape it a little bit so it kind of starts off. The thing with rolling out pastry is the shape that you want it to be is the shape you want to start off with. So if you start off with a big lump like that, it's going to end up just as kind of an extended version, kind of a magnified version of that lump. So if you want it, we want to kind of get this into sort of oblongy. So start out with an oblong. And we're going to roll it out between these two sheets. So just kind of, the nice thing about this is it helps get an even layer, but it stops you incorporating too much extra flour, because I know the temptation with these things is you just want to kind of get loads of flour on it and help roll it out, but you don't need to do that anyway. But doing it this way stops that. Also means you can work with much softer pastries. The other tip about rolling something out, if you roll it from the edge, you start here and you roll all the way over to the other edge, you always end up with like a sleeping policeman bump in the middle of the road. Whereas if you put your rolling pin in the middle, comme ça, and roll, and then back to the middle and roll out, you'll end up with a much more even pastry. What we want is something, for a big case, about sort of 3mm. So for one of these, small one, about 2mm thick, but for one of these bigger boys, sort of 3mm. So we'll do some 2mm ones to get these. Well, have a look, you see. So that's about right. Okay. Now we're going to put that in the fridge and really let it cool down for a good kind of hour and a half. Next up, we have a follow-up from our previous clinics. This is James again from the east side. I was worried to get some more correspondence from James because last time we got a thank you letter and things seemed like they were better, but anyway. James from the east side, but considering a move to the west side. Dear Dr. Tim, as you know, everything was better. My new leather apron had really done the trick. I was current. However, I've recently noticed that people have started making cat cherry pepe with instant ramen noodles again. I missed this trend the first time, and it looks like I've missed it again. The kids have obviously now come up from behind and have now overtaken me. I'm drowning in irrelevance. What should I do? I was thinking that maybe I should open a ramen shop that uses spaghetti. James, new is not the same as relevant, but you're getting there. I like the idea of a ramen spaghetti shop. Blink and step into the sun. Next up, I have a new referral from John, Laura, Amrit, Liam and Becky from everywhere. Dear Dr. Tim, we have all just jammed supermarket biscuits into a brownie stroke cupcake stroke blondie. Does this make us pastry chefs? John, Laura, Amrit, Liam and Becky, I get the temptation. I've done it, we've all done it, but we have to stop now. Maybe we should use less supermarket biscuits and learn how to make a proper Madeleine. So no more Oreos, digestives, Freddos, cream eggs, bourbon biscuits, jammy dodgers, custard creams, Biscoff, Jaffa cakes, chocolate fingers, tea cakes, hobnobs, party rings, ginger nuts or chomps. The one exception to this, I'm going to refer to the shelf of favourites, are pink wafer biscuits. You can jam these boys anywhere. Right, so we're going to line these now. So the joy of this, so normally if you're making a tart, you'd have a tart ring either that looks like this but it's got solid, there's no little holes in it, or it's got like a base, or it's got like a fluted edge, and you'd roll out the bit of pastry and then you'd kind of have to lay the whole thing over it and then kind of tuck it in. This is so much easier. It's kind of like a jigsaw. So first off, we're just going to use the tart ring itself to cut out the base that we want. So I'm just pushing it into the pastry like that. And then we'll drop that in. We're just going to cut some strips. And then we're just gonna I'll neaten this off a bit. You want to get this nice and tight. So previously, in the olden days, we'd make tart cases by, at this point, putting some cling film in, leaving the excess pastry over the edge, put the cling film in, put some baking beads in, bake it, and then once it's baked, you then kind of trim it down either with a knife or a microplane or something, just to kind of get a nice neat edge. With this method, you can cut it at this point because the pastry isn't going to shrink in the oven. So we're going to make a few more of those, and we're going to put them all on these kind of lined mats. You need the holes. So the reason this works is because you've got the holes around the edge of the tart ring, and you've got the holes underneath, so that any of the steam that's generated as the pastry bakes can escape. The reason this doesn't work with a solid ring is that the steam just gets trapped underneath the pastry and it pushes it up. So this, it kind of escapes. So it just kind of stays where it should do. So anyway, I'll do a few more of these, and then we're going to put them in the freezer for about an hour, hour and a half, until they're really set before they go in the oven. If they go in the oven straight away, they have a tendency to shrink a little bit. So we're going to freeze them solid before we bake them from frozen. And this is going to blow your socks off. So this is what they look like when they're done. So you get this lovely, it's really nice sort of textured bottom, and it's such a straight, neat thing. This is why I run a macaron business, because it's kind of circles and perfect circles and stuff, but the geometry of it, it's so great, and you don't have to weigh it down at all, and you get that really nice kind of 90-degree angle. So you get really kind of, when they cut so well. When you cut them, you get really kind of nice, sharp, 90-degree angle bit of pastry, and it's easier than blooming sort of rigid bottom cases or those fluted tart rings. It looks a bit intimidating buying this stuff off kind of Amazon or wherever, the tart rings and the perforated trays, and I'll put some links in the bottom, but they're not expensive. So that is, and so anyway, it makes your toes tingle. I've got some Pistachio Ganache, which I'm going to fill this with. Nice blob in the middle. The easiest way to make Pistachio Ganache is to set up a macaron business, run it for 11 years, and then get someone called Molly to make it for you. This is made just with a pistachio paste, white chocolate, and some cream. So we've let the ganache set in the fridge for a little bit, and I'm just going to finish it off with, we've got some nice fresh raspberries. Make them all nice and cozy. Little shards of pink meringue. The best way of making that is to get someone called George to make them for you. But I'll give you the recipe for these over time. Then they're all very simple components. The ganache is very easy. The meringue is just sort of basically an Italian meringue, like what we make when we're making macarons. And then it's just dried out in a very low oven for ages, and you get these really nice kind of shardy bits. And then I've got some chopped pistachios, sprinkle them on the top. So Dougie boy, when the beat drops and you're busting some moves, when it comes to the end, you can present those judges a lovely fruit tart. And now the really genius thing about this, Doug, is that if you're super clever, you buy other shapes. So you buy one of these, and you make a lovely oblong one. You buy one of these, And you make a lovely boat shape one. These are so cool, aren't they? Are they cool? These are so cool. These are so just amazing. And then if you get a square one, which I haven't got, you can make a little square one. See? It's just so pretty. So pleasing. Anyway. So Doug, thank you, and thank you everyone else for joining me this time. It's been a pleasure to share what goes on in our little pastry world down Macarons and More way. We've got 2 more episodes in this season. Big plans involving big plans. So I very much you can join me again. I'll put all the stuff, recipes and links to where you can buy stuff in the details below. But it's lovely seeing you. And I hope you've appreciated the Dr. Tim's Cake Clinic with extra face this time. No masks. And big shout out to Duncan in Stretford, who advised me about lighting, and also to take the mask off because I looked like I won't repeat what he said. Thanks a lot. Love you. Oh no, someone's picking up their cake. I have to take this off.